Thank you. So basically, since Caroline is leaving her role as country coordinator, we have an open position for one or even two country coordinators who would be based in English-speaking Canada. And I'm going to show you a little what this role entails. So basically, country coordinators are volunteers who will be onboarded by the Climate Risk team, who is based in Paris, and they would have this responsibility of taking care of the community and some other tasks in their country. So the responsibilities are quite diverse. It's about being a driving force for climate risk international development, depending on the needs of the country. It's also about being a community leader, so making sure that everyone's needs in the community are taken care of, that there are trainings, workshops, etc. It's also about being a strategist and thinking about what's the best way to help climate risk grow in the country. And finally, being a link between the country and climate risk's permanent team. So basically, talking with us a little, participating in some initiatives. So the selection process is depending on some prerequisites. We usually ask for CCs to be at least orange belts. It's of course better to be a green belt. If not, it's about becoming a green belt soon enough because it's about your experience and making sure that you also understand the workshop and climate risk's values. It's also about wanting to be involved with climate risk development, about being okay with meeting, exchanging, and building with the community. And of course, not a problem for you, but being able to communicate in English so that we are able to communicate and having the time for this role. So if you are interested, there's a form that we can send you and you can fill it, and then you would be meeting with someone with the team from the team and we'll be able to discuss it further. So it's not only about the country coordinator's commitment to climate risk, it's also about climate risk commitment towards country coordinators. And we are here to help you with centralized tools that are on a dedicated website, helping you depending on the resources that you need, and having some communication with regional meetings, global assemblies, hotlines if you need help from us. So it's at Climate Risk, we are also available to help country coordinators doing the best they can in their country. And so your commitments as CC would be what you already discussed, and of course, respecting the guidelines and being able to attend the meetings when necessary. So if you're interested, I'm going to be sending the link to the form to Caroline, and you'll be able to fill it and you can discuss this further. Now, there's also another role that is quite interesting, and it's the role of local coordinator. I'm just going to switch screen. Here we go. So, in big countries like Canada, like the US, we do know that it's very different from the European model where climate risk started. And the country coordinator role is a lot. So, of course, in big countries, we can't expect a country coordinator to be able to do everything by themselves. It's a lot of work, it's big territories. So, the role of local coordinator is so important here. And so, local coordinators are people who are volunteers who will be onboarded by the CC, by the country coordinator, and who are okay with taking some responsibilities in their area. So, in their city, in their province, like it depends on the country. And so the scope of action is mainly the same as the country coordinators in terms of organizing, volunteering, and community management, but in your own city. And you're also, of course, as a local coordinator, a focal point between the CC and the community. So you are able to go to the country coordinator and tell them we need this, we need that, and they would also be able to come to the association if you guys need help. So the prerequisites are a bit less strict than for the country coordinator. So you need to be a yellow belt, ready to become orange, of course, to live in the area that you would be managing, to be motivated, to have some time to dedicate to the mission, and of course, being able to understand English. So again, for you guys, not a problem. So in a snapshot, it's about helping the local facilitators community to have some support, being there for them, and regarding the volunteering and the public workshops, so helping with the logistics, promoting the events, and facilitate when needed. So I'm not going to go into more details. We're of course able to send you this presentation, but basically these are the two roles. If you're interested, we strongly encourage you to go to Caroline for more info. I will be sending these, and we of course can discuss it more if needed and necessary. But I really hope that some of you will want to take on these great missions, because Canada is such a big and impactful country. Um, and we would really love to see some motivation. So please don't hesitate if you have any questions. I'm here for this today.
Any questions? Unmute yourself if you do. No? No questions?
Sorry, I have one question.
Yes.
Is there a term to the volunteer rules?
You mean some rules, some do's and don'ts?
No, sorry. I mean, like for the duration. That it's
for the duration.
Years or
so right now it's not something that is really set in stone. However, we usually don't recommend that the country coordinator role exceeds 3 years, because people get tired, which is normal. It's already a big volunteer commitment. And regarding the local coordinatorship, it's kind of the same. I would say not more than 3 years. However, it can be a year, it can be two. It's really depending on people. Since it's again volunteer roles, we don't believe you can really come and say, yeah, it should be minimum 1 year or 2 years. Circumstances change, people change. So what we usually ask is some notice in case people are here and want to leave their role, so that we are able to find a replacement. But there are no like strict timelines that are set. However, it's of course not a rule for 2 months. It should be at least 6 months to a year if possible. And if not, again, we're very flexible. Again, it's volunteering.
Yeah,
so no hard rules.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure. Anyone else?
This is Don. I've got a question about the database on local groups is not very friendly in a large country like Canada. And are there things that you can do would be willing to do to modify it so that we can actually figure out where people come from, create a community of just Ottawa, for example, Toronto, Vancouver, or is it all one big monolith?
So it's possible to create a local group by city. It's something that needs to be discussed with the country coordinator, because it's a change on the platform, on the facilitator space. But we're not close to the idea. If the local coordinator or country coordinator thinks that it's something necessary for the development, we can create smaller local groups by city. However, we can't right now take the ones we have and divide it by city, because not all people put their cities. It's not mandatory to put it. And secondly, it wouldn't be very GDPR friendly in terms of privacy issues. So we can't like do it ourselves and send it to you. But creating another group and asking people from, for example, Ottawa to join it is possible. And if you are a cultural local coordinator, we can give you access to it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's good news. I didn't know about that.
So it's usually what we did was by country. However, so for Canada, we did the English one and the French one. But we're really trying to listen to the community's demands and needs. And again, Canada is a huge country. So we're thinking about countries like India, Canada, the US, Indonesia that are so big. It would make sense. So it's not too much of a hassle for us to do it. But of course, there needs to be someone behind it who is willing to animate the group and take the responsibility. So at least the local coordinator, if not a country coordinator.
Yeah.
And I guess it's up to the local coordinator. Could also be a regional coordinator that doesn't have to be city focused, but Eastern Ontario, for example, right? I presume there's no limits on that.
No, it's completely up to what you believe is best, and as long as the country coordinator is okay with it and able to coordinate with everyone, then no issues on our side. So regarding the association, we are usually not in a lot of contact with the local coordinators, because you can have 20 local coordinators in a country, and the country coordinator's role is to be the person who will be talking with the association. So again, as long as the country coordinator is okay with it and able to deal with a certain number of local coordinators, the territories, how you divide it, how you do it, it doesn't matter to us. It's really up to you guys in the community and how you think is the best.
I know something that's come up often in Canada is to have regional coordinators by province, for Ontario, BC, and because that really mirrors the organization of the country. So that's a bit bigger than a city area. So I don't know if that could be an option. And if you can have maybe your country coordinators come from different provinces, so that you're getting sort of a viewpoint from different areas, different general areas of the country.
Totally up to you.
Yeah, Michael.
So I have a question. I've heard we're covering the English side, but what's the plan for the Quebec side, Letitia?
Great question. Thanks, Michael. So I didn't mention Quebec because we have a country coordinator in place. His name is Benoit. I don't know if you know him. So we thought it would be best to discuss the English Canada today because Caroline is leaving her role as CC in the English Canada. However, if you're interested, or if you know someone who's interested in being a local coordinator in Quebec or being a co-country coordinator in Quebec, the road is open. It's always a possibility.
Okay, sounds good.
We have someone in place. I'm sure he could use the help if someone else is willing to help.
Just curious that Quebec, at least as far as I'm aware, is not truly a separate country. It's all part of Canada. So I was wondering if the person who becomes the country coordinator, they're not really the country coordinator, they're going to be the English Canada coordinator. So you're not actually going to have you're going to have two regional
Yes.
co-coordinators.
You could also have 3 country coordinators. You could have 4. It's really open.
Yeah.
It could be by province. It could be someone who's willing to work on the Quebec side and the English side. It was historically easier to do it this way because we had 2 people in place in each in Quebec and in English Canada. However, again, we're open to any form of separating roles. It can be people who would be working on the tool, it could be by province. It's all open. It really depends on the motivation and how many people are willing to step up and help and take on these roles.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I guess on that note, then it's up to the community in Canada to figure out how separate we want to keep these, or how together we want to work as well, right? Like that would go both ways.
So it's a strategic discussion. We don't believe at the association that we have the ability to come and say, yes, you should do things this way or that way. It's not the spirit. So it really depends on what the community sees best and sees fit. Of course, we are also the ones who would be onboarding the country coordinators. There are some criteria and prerequisites, as I showed it earlier, but it's all part of the strategic discussion. And if there is a working group, for example, to take place in Canada where the volunteers, the frescoers want to figure out the best way to move forward, including Quebec, including the other provinces, we would love to be part of it, or at least to hear your recommendations. But we won't be a blocking point here saying it should be separated, it should be together. It really depends on the community.
Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Yeah, because there is an added complexity is that if I can represent a facilitator who's not here in Ottawa, Elizabeth, who is Francophone, and so in Ontario, we do have an important, relatively important Francophone minority in Ottawa, so that the way that things have been set up, where Quebec has been mainly Francophone speaking and Ontario has been mostly Anglophone, in terms of, for example, communications in the group. Quebec, Benoit communicates in French. I've been communicating in English, but I know there has been this request from Francophones in Ontario to say, well, who is representing us? I'm happy to hear that you're open to discussions among facilitators to think about organizing Canada best. Because when I started, Quebec was set up. It had been around for 2 to 3 years. And, I was in English Canada, and I understood that that's the way that things were divided, basically. But it's really nice to hear that the community can propose other ways of organizing.
No, definitely. And as you said, it's all about the history. Climate Fresque's whole project really took off 3-4 years ago. So it was really about the people who wanted to step up, about how things came naturally. And so we're obviously open to rethinking and reshaping depending on the community's needs and wants. Any other
And-
question? Sorry.
I have a question on the timeline. If people, like, when are you expecting people to submit their, how do you say, to be candidates, I guess?
The sooner the better. The idea is also to not drag this on too long. So the sooner the better. But again, since it's all volunteering roles, we're also not strict on that.
So maybe just for interest's sake, I mean, I think my interest is to be a regional Ottawa coordinator. I'm not interested in the country coordinator, and I'm just wondering if anybody else on this call is, because that's kind of a key piece to put in place. But I just thought, if anybody's thinking about it, you've got people who will handle the Ottawa region, right, Mike? Up, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
You're still on
Sorry,
mute. There we go.
not until I retire.
Okay. No, but I'm willing to do it, right? So.
And Don was already an official local coordinator, because he had already been given, he was already, you were listed as the local Ottawa coordinator. It's just that it doesn't show up on the map. So that is a question for me, on the map of coordinators across the world. Will regional coordinators show up as well now? Because in the past, there was only the country coordinators.
Yes. So that's a good question. For now, there is not a plan to put the local coordinators on the map because it was basically designed for country coordinators. However, it's a good question. And I think we need to think about it at the association. I'm sorry, I don't have an answer right now, but it's not something I thought about before. We need to discuss it, but it's a very good point. And to go back to what you were saying, Dawn, it's great to see that you're still motivated in Ottawa, and if other people are motivated to be local coordinators and we don't find a country coordinator right away, Benoit is in Quebec and he's willing to, he's still country coordinator for Canada in general. So right now it was kind of this unofficial repartition between him and Caroline. But if there are other local coordinators who wants to step in soon, Benoit will be able to handle the transition. So no worries about that.
And, you know, I am willing to stay on until there's a new person as well, of course. If it's going to be a month or so, you know, that would be fine. Hopefully, that's the length it'll take
Thank you,
to
Caroline.
find someone.
Thank you.
And I think Philippe had to leave. Anybody? I think, Lisa, you're just joining us. We just went through a few questions, so.
Sorry, I was late, but I'll catch the recording and thank you, Carolyn, and thank you for everyone who's involved with the Climate Fresk. It sounds like there's a bit of a transition period, and the search for your successor is on, Caroline. If that's what I understand.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Laetitia, I do have a final burning question.
Mhm.
Do you know how things are progressing in terms of looking at some proposals that we made a while ago for English Canada cards for the youth version of the workshop?
I can't answer that because it's not my team. It's the innovation and impact team. They are the ones to look at the course proposition. And for your information, so with the new governance, there is a scientific committee in which, of course, there are people from the association, so from the innovation and impact team, plus the author of the game, and it's plus other people from the community. So you have blue belts, green belts, etc. And they are the ones to decide any changes related to the cards. So what we do when you send proposals is that the innovation and impact team take a look at it, and then they take it to the scientific committee, which meets, I think, 3 times a year, twice a year, something like that, twice a year, I think. And they are the ones to discuss it. So I'm sorry, I don't have an answer right now, but you can send a mail to the innovation and impact team if you have if you want more details on how it's going.
Okay, I'm not sure who those people are because I think I submitted the proposal to Chris, who is the usual person that you know organizes our country coordinator check-ins. So should I ask Chris first?
Yes,
or-
yes. If you were in contact with Chris, it's his role as community engagement coordinator. He will be able to follow this up with you.
All right.
All right. Any other questions for me?
Oh, maybe Michael.
Yeah, so roughly, how often are cards updated? Approximately.
Around once a year.
Okay. I was just seeing that the latest projection from the EU Copernicus and another similar outfit in the US, we're going to blow past 2 degrees Celsius by 2050. It's already it's a done deal. So I was looking at the temperature card number 21, I think, and it's like,
Yes.
oh yeah, it's a little bit more serious than that card would indicate. So
Yes, everything is.
yes, no, that's fine. So just curious how often they update cards. Thank you.
It really depends. It's roughly once a year. It can be a bit more, it can be a bit less, but it's always they always retake a look at it every time every time there's a new IPCC report. So it's very much depending on that.
Okay.
Next IPCC report won't be till 27, 28, I think, if even later. So we've got a ways to go.
But I mean, again, roughly once a year.
Yeah. And I presume, okay, could we have a Canadian set of cards? Could we produce our own set of Canadian cards and have them blessed by headquarters?
No, the game is unique, and it's again the scientific committee who decides.
Okay, I understand all that, but some of the cards are just terrible. Radiative forcing is I've done 50 workshops, everybody stumbles over the wording on the back. So if you're interested in having input to make them better and more understandable, that's really what I'm saying.
We're always interested in having input.
Yeah.
You can send it on the platform. I think there's a space where you can send your recommendation or your criticisms. We're
Into the
always
abyss. Okay, I'll give it a shot, right? But it's never, yeah. Okay.
because we have a whole team whose job is to work on the
Mm.
cards, so all of the inputs are taken into consideration.
But that would then have to go through the country coordinator to get into.
Or you can directly send a message on the platform through the support.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think Laetitia is unfortunately in a position to answer our burning questions.
Yeah.
To make my best.
And I have to admit, as country coordinator, it is a challenge. As Canada country coordinator, having an input into into the cards, into Climate Trust. So that is something that you have to keep in mind, is that while we can have meetings with community engagement managers, it's a whole different process to really collaborate on the game itself, on the cards themselves.
Thanks for your input.
And I don't know if it's different because I know you're having meetings with, for example, the US, Laetitia. Are you focusing on some larger countries, as I understood, for your, more collaboration meetings? Is that the case today?
For now, it's not the plan. We are not focusing on top countries or big countries. However, with the US, it's a particular case because they are part of the International Committee, because of the nonprofit that they are putting in place. And so they are part of the international governance. Plus, we also have an American on Climate Risk Board who was just elected. So it's a bit of a special case. It's also a bit of a special case, for example, for Germany and Switzerland, because they have climate risk national entities. But apart from these exceptions, there is no big difference at the moment between countries.
Because when I was told that we were not, that creating a national entity was not a priority for Canada. That's why I'm asking. So
it's not that it's not a priority. It's just that there's the whole business plan to be able to propose. It's a lot of work, but if someone is interested, they can obviously contact me. It's always good to have propositions for national entities. It's something that is going slowly because right now we are only 1 or 2 people working on this. And it took us a whole year to help establish it in Switzerland and in Germany. So it's slow, but it's very, very important. So no, it's not about the countries. It's just about having enough resources, having enough facilitators, participants, having a business plan, having a strategy on where you want to go for this entity, because it's a whole deal. But no,
Yeah.
it's not depending on this country or that country. We're open to
Okay.
everyone who wants to do it.
Okay, because I believe that is the sense of the meeting that I had with some of you at Climate Risk in Paris in May, was to present this effort and this nonprofit that.
The nonprofit is not a national entity.
I'm sorry?
A national entity is not a nonprofit. It's very different.
Oh, when you say a national entity, what do you mean by that then?
It's what we presented during the call in April. So a national entity is an entity that will be able to collect the license fees on their territory, and then redirect a portion of these fees to the association.
Yeah.
So it's more of can be both. For example, in Germany, they have a national entity that is under the umbrella of a nonprofit, but they have the right to collect the license fee. So usually you need to have a commercial structure. So
Yeah. In Canada, you can be a nonprofit and collect, have commercial workshops, and also, anyway, I won't get into this, but I think that was the whole strategy that I presented to you guys, and I think what I understood is that, as you said, you had limited time to sign an agreement, because I think on your end you have to sign an agreement with the national entity.
yes,
But that was the entire idea. I think the only maybe difference with the model in Europe is that my learnings from 3 years of facilitating was that to try and have the commercial revenue offset the volunteer facilitation in universities or the public was not going to work, because commercially the workshop was maybe not quite adapted to the Canadian context, that it needed to be adapted on a number of ways of functioning. And so that in order for us to be able to be sustainable and not depend on Climate Trust revenue, which was limited, we were maybe going to go a more traditional Canadian route, which is to do fundraising with foundations, and that would help finance educational efforts, because fundraising will not support commercial efforts, but they might support educational efforts.
And that's something that you can completely do with a nonprofit. However, it wouldn't be possible to sign this tripartite contract that is
Okay.
that is dependent on this on having a national entity. So if you want to have your own nonprofit, Fresk, raise funds, and just not having the Climate Fresk name, you are completely free to do it. It just wouldn't be about signing this contract for the national entity, being part of the international committee, and redirecting the fees. Because if it's about fundraising, it's not redirecting fees to the association, you know. So if you have your own nonprofit and you want to use it to fundraise, you can of course do it. But I think, Caroline, that's a much bigger discussion, more strategic.
Yes,
And
no,
maybe
I agree. I just wanted
talk about it.
everybody to sort of be aware, because they might get the impression that, they can submit projects. I just want to give people a history of where we are so far. And I do think there is a misunderstanding on the fundraising and the fees. I do think there could have been a way that fees could have been paid to the Climate Fresk in France, even though they were from fundraising. I think it's just the vision of the model, the European model. I'm just saying there may be an adaptation for Canada and even the US.
No, definitely. We're thinking about it. We're thinking about it. It, however, needs to be discussed with the strategic committee, with the endowment fund, the Climate Trust Foundation, actually right now. But we are starting to think about the strategy for nonprofits, because we have a lot of countries, such as Canada, who are saying that this model could work best for them. However, it's not just about the association strategy, it's about the contract that we signed with the endowment fund. And on this contract, it's only about national entities and commercial fees. So that's why we were telling you that it might take some more time to discuss it. It was a bit premature, and we still don't have more details on this. But again, we can discuss it separately later, and I can explain to you some more.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. I think someone had a question.
That was me. Thank you.
Yes.
Just taking a couple of steps back to, we said a working group of freskers from the community. So if this is something that we want to do, like put together some freskers who are interested, or maybe experienced freskers, to get together and kind of decide how we will work going forward. Like what's the next step, I guess, if we do something like that.
Thank you. That's a good question. That's actually up to you. You are totally free to create this working group and discuss and talk about the different roles that need to be filled, such as the local coordinators and country coordinator. the association would not be interfering with that, obviously, because it's more of local matters and you need to figure out the best way to do it. We wouldn't be relevant in taking part in these discussions. So we totally trust the community's ability to create and animate such a working group. And when you have conclusions and are ready to fill these positions, then we are able to help you and to talk again. But it's a community matter at the moment.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
My pleasure. Anyone else?
No, we're good.
All right, great. Thank you so much for your questions and for listening. I really hope that that some of you are motivated by this, and that you'll also be able to talk about it with the other freskers who you think would be relevant. And I'm maybe gonna give the lead back to Caroline about the other subjects that usually discuss here.
Yeah, I think today was, we have a limited number of participants, and I think we sort of basically caught up, except if anyone would like to share some news. But thank you, Laetitia, and I'm sure there'll be follow-up from people here on maybe thinking about the best Canadian organization. I find that's really nice to hear that we can provide some suggestions. And yeah, thank you so much for explaining. And so you'll send the presentation, and I'll be sending it to everyone through the Climate Fresk group, so that everyone has it along with the recording. And yeah, so we'll see from there.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.